If Logan Lerman doesn't play Poseidon in the new Percy Jackson series, I'm gonna kill myself. Hey y'all, what's up? I'm Sabrina and welcome back to my book nook. First off, some news. I started a Substack, you guys. In case you don't know what a Substack is, it's kind of like a newsletter, but I'm really treating it more of like a platform for me to post my writings, sort of like personal essays or opinion pieces, kind of. I don't really know what to call it. It's kind of like a blog, but not really a blog. I keep forgetting that people on this channel don't know me personally, but I like to write, and I like to write a lot. So this Substack is just kind of a place for me to post my writings, and I just write about something I really want to talk about. For example, I am currently working on a piece about parasocial relationships, which a little bit hypocritical, but I think it's very interesting. Yeah, if you want to check it out, the link will be in the description below, and I think I'm gonna link it to my channel information as well. So yeah, now that shameless self-plug is out of the way, let's talk about today's video. So today we are going to be comparing Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief book versus movie. I feel like there's obviously a very clear winner here, but I'm going to make this video anyways because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I still do have some slightly controversial opinions that I want to share because this is my channel and I can say whatever I want. Let's start off with the book. Everybody has read the book, and by everybody I mean everybody. If you haven't, what the fuck are you doing? Go read the book. Stop being lame. Percy Jackson was kind of the first book series that got me into like reading, which actually, side story, before I even got into Percy Jackson, I was a Greek mythology kid, and I would go to the library and I would check out like these giant textbooks on Greek myths and just spend hours every single day reading them. I actually have the textbook from the library because a friend gave it to me for my birthday as a gift. It was this book of Greek myths. As you can see, I checked out every single day. Because of that, I actually had an aversion to Percy Jackson because I didn't want to read it because I thought it would be like betraying the Greek myths that I was reading. I don't know why, but my sister, she tricked me and she's like, you should read The Lost Hero. It's not Percy Jackson technically. And I was like, sure. And then I read it and I loved it. And then I found out it was in the Percy Jackson universe, and I ended up reading Percy Jackson and the Olympians, and can you guess what happened from there on? You can tell by my shirt, which says Camp Half-Blood, by the way, because I actually went as a demigod for Halloween in 4th grade. Crazy, I know. Back to the book. I think what makes this book, but in general the series, so lovable is just that it's a lot of fun. Now, most people, when I talk to them now about why they don't read anymore, it's because they say reading is just not fun, which is absolutely not true. But I do think they kind of have a point if you're looking at popular fantasy series now. For example, they're all just like fantasy war or fantasy politics, which is like, you know, great and all. It's fun. I like reading about that stuff. But after a while, it's just like fantasy should be an escape, you know? It should be a place filled with fun. And I think that's what Percy Jackson manages to do. Even though it's not really that much of an escape, right? It's still in the real world, modern world, I guess. However, I do admit the book is very, very obviously made for middle schoolers. I felt so very old while reading this. The amount of nostalgia I have from this book. Even though it is a kid's book, the story is still super amazing. The plot has a couple holes, but that's alright because it's a kid's book. You want to finish the story, you want to get to the end, and it's filled with action, it's filled with fun, it's filled with laughter. It's got everything. You don't read the book or attempt to finish the series because of the constant drama that happens, but because you feel a genuine connection to the story and to the characters. And just speaking of the characters, I love them so freaking much. I think every person's first book boyfriend was Percy. If he wasn't, then what the hell are you doing with your life? Now, obviously, I'm not simping for a 12-year-old because that is really weird, but I still do love Percy, like, as a character, especially because you get to see him grow throughout the rest of the series. And then, oh my god, him and Annabeth. I love Percabeth so much. I've yet to meet one person who doesn't love Percabeth because they're the best. Also, normally I don't like male protagonists because, you know, men, but Percy is just above the standard. No, you know why? He is the standard. Percy Jackson is the standard for all male protagonists. Also, upon my most recent reread, I have reread the book a lot, if you couldn't tell from the condition of it, but the main takeaway I took from this time was that it's really a love letter to healthy parent-child relationships. If y'all didn't know, Riordan, the author of this book, actually wrote this book as a way to comfort his child who had ADHD and dyslexia, and he wrote the story, I think, as a way to make him feel better about having those things. And I just think that's beautiful because you can really see like the parental love shine through this book, just like Percy and Sally's relationship. Oh my god, it's so amazing. Even though it is a kid's book, it does tackle heavy subjects like parental abuse and child neglect and the resentment that can rise from these dysfunctional familial relationships. And the book is not afraid to say, hey, you're not allowed to be a parent no matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're God. Children deserve our love, they deserve our respect. And I think that's a really beautiful message, and part of the reason why this book is so iconic. Percy is a little 12-year-old and he's not taking from anybody. I mean, he literally had a one-on-one fight with Ares, the god of war, and came out alive. But also, on a final note, I just love modern retellings of old stories. Like, I love it whenever people take an old story that everybody knows already and then reimagines it or sort of twists it around to either introduce a new maybe element of a story we haven't thought of, or a new plot to the story, or just like modernizing it, you know, keeping up with the times. Y'all ever seen Ever After High or Monster High or Disney's Descendants? And I don't care if they're kids' movies or shows. That doesn't like negate the fact that it's still a good story, that they still have good characters. Honestly, this could be a whole video on how people don't take kids' books seriously anymore just because they're labeled for kids. You know, I definitely feel like there is a difference between kids' books that are only good because of nostalgia and kids' books that are good just because they're good. And this is both, you know, it's good because of the nostalgia and just because it's a good book. I love this book. Is it the best out of the series? No, but it is a pretty good starter book, an introduction into the Percy Jackson universe. And I'm super excited for the show. I cannot wait to see what they're going to do with it. I think they're going to modernize it even more, hopefully, because I think Percy Jackson is set in like the 1990s or like early 2000s. We're in the 2020s now, so hopefully we'll see more modern stuff, as long as they don't do any like TikTok jokes or just any memes, just any jokes from the past recent 5 years. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Now on to the part I'm excited to talk about. The movie. First off, everyone agrees the movie is a piece of right? Good. Now that that is out of the way, let me just say this. If you pretend that the movie isn't based off the book, like the book just didn't exist at all, there was just this movie and this movie only, the movie is a cinematic masterpiece. This movie is the literal definition of camp. You either get it or you don't get it, okay? Now, is this movie also caked in heavy layers of nostalgia for me? Yes, definitely. I know all the words to this movie. I am not kidding you guys. I actually do know all the words to this movie. I could make a separate video on everything this movie did wrong, and it could be like an hour long, but I don't have enough storage to film it. So instead, I thought we'd start off on a positive note and say some of the things this movie did right. First off, Logan Lerman. That is one thing they did right. He was perfect for Percy. You know, if Percy was a high schooler, which unfortunately he's not, but if he was, beautiful casting choice, amazing casting choice. The second thing this movie did right, the pen scene, where Mr. Brunner gives, is it Brunner or Bruner? I don't know, I say Brunner, where Mr. Brunner gives Percy a pen. He's like, you can only use this in times of trouble. And Percy's like, this is a pen. This is a pen. I quote that scene on the daily. And also from the Sea of Monsters movie, the scene where Percy's on the roof and then he confronts Luke, and then you think him and Luke are about to have a showdown, and Luke goes, don't walk on my roof. You know that scene? I used to quote that scene a lot too. The fact that I can still like remember all this tells you everything you need to know. Well, honestly, there were a lot of funny scenes in this movie, either because it was just so bad I couldn't help but laugh, or they just genuinely had some one-liners I wasn't expecting and laughed out loud at. Here's my advice, you guys. If you ever watch a bad movie, just treat it as a comedy. Don't take it seriously, because then it's just bad. But if you treat it like it's a joke, it's so good. For example, I watched He's All That starring Addison Rae. Funniest movie I've ever watched. I love that movie. Couldn't make it through the second half though. I've only watched half the movie, but I loved it. Third thing this movie did right, the Lotus Casino scene, where Percy and Beth and River are eating the lotus flowers while Poker Face is playing in the background. Cinematic masterpiece. That scene defined a whole generation, okay? I am part of that generation. It was, you know, words can't even describe how I feel about that scene. But I don't do drugs. I've never done drugs, and I will never do drugs. But if someone were to offer me a lotus flower, I would eat it without hesitation. Also, choosing to play Highway to Hell while they're going to hell, another stroke of genius. It is so camp. Also, another stroke of genius, Percy using an iPod to see Medusa's reflection. That was brilliant, okay? Beautiful use of modern technology. So those are pretty much all the things I liked about the movie. Pretty short list, I know. So now let's move on to things the movie did wrong, which is going to take a while. But first, let's change Sally to a little Huddy, because things are about to get ugly. First off, the thing that surprised me upon my most recent rewatch was how many big name celebrities I saw on screen. I mean, they had Pierce Brosnan, James Bond, but most importantly, he was Sam from Mamma Mia. They had Sam from Mamma Mia as Chiron. He looks way worse as a half horse than I remember. I remember the CGI being a lot better than it was, because oh my god, it looks like they did most of their CGI on like iMovie or something, which isn't even possible. Second, they had Uma Thurman play Medusa. How did they manage to get her for that role? Also, Alexandra Daddario as Annabeth. I don't know who that girl on screen was, but it was not Annabeth. I don't know what character that was, but that was not my wise girl. No, I don't even know what to criticize next. There was just so much wrong in the movie. The dialogue sounded like the writer read the spark notes of the story and then sent the script to like a focus group of middle-aged men who then edited it to make it sound like what they thought a modern fantasy story would sound like, with a couple of funny one-liners thrown in. Next, they aged everybody up to high schoolers? For what? Literally, there was no purpose for that. Percy Jackson works fine when he's 12. And also the worst part is that Chris Columbus, who is the director of this movie, also directed Harry Potter, meaning he's worked with like 12-year-olds. And I think everybody was expecting this movie to be the next Harry Potter. So like, if they had just made Percy Jackson like middle schoolers, they could have had 12-year-olds who then were part of this massive franchise, grow up with the series, and then establish a more emotional connection with the viewers and the fans. And I think that was a really stupid move. Not just because like it's inaccurate to the books, but also because it doesn't make sense from like a profit standpoint. Another thing that was wrong with this movie, they tried to make the gods seem like good parents. The whole point in the book is that they're terrible parents, but in the movie it's also like, Zeus forbid us from seeing you, I loved you so much. And in the book it's like, yeah, great, whatever, thanks for sending a lightning bolt, you can go back, I acknowledged you once, you can leave. And I just hate that. I hate that they changed that dynamic so much. The whole point is that the gods are bad parents and people shouldn't be bad parents to their children. But the movie is like, actually no, they're not bad parents, they're just forbidden by law. Shut up. Also, they cut out so much stuff from the book that doesn't make sense why they would cut out. First off, they cut out the whole Ares subplot line, which doesn't make sense. They cut out Hades' helm of darkness being stolen as well and made him the villain, which again, really weird. They cut out St. Louis's arch, is it St. Louis or St. Louis? I don't even know, and I've been there. But basically, they cut out the arch scene, and they changed the whole quest to finding Persephone's pearls. What happened to the original plot of the story? Literally, what happened? They cut out what everybody loved about the story and then wondered why everybody hates their movie now. I have so many more things I could say on this movie, but I'm tired. You know, I don't want to talk about this movie anymore. It's making me sad and it's making me mad and I want to move on. Book versus movie, which is better? There's a very clear and obvious winner. I feel like I don't even have to say it, but let's compare the actual two first. One is a very lovable story with an amazing plot line and even more amazing characters and relationships and an important message. And the other is like a 2-hour-long shit show. So can you guys guess which one I like more? It's the book. Ding, ding, ding. If you guys got that right, congrats. The book is not better. It is just, I mean, the book is better, but it's just also the only option here. You know what I mean? It's just, the two are not even comparable. Yes, this has its strong points, but the movie is just, but I still love it. I love it because it's so bad. This, I love it because it's good. It's just so good. Both heavy in nostalgia for me, but ultimately the book wins out because why the would the book not win? I don't think anybody thinks the movie is better than the book. And if you do, I'm either guessing you haven't read the book or you're just really weird. I normally don't judge people, but I'm judging you. If you think the movie is better than the book, fuck you. What's wrong with you? Also, did you guys know that there was a Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief musical? Right? I listened to it. It was actually pretty good. The song Good Kid, banger. So good. That's all I have to say. This is shit. This is good. Thanks for watching, you guys. That's my comparison. Yeah, okay. So, that's all I have to say. If you liked this video, thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, don't. If you really hated it, give it a thumbs down. Also, make sure to check out my Substack. Only if you want to do that, you know, no pressure. But if you want to check it out, go ahead. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!